Away from the courts now, President Bola Tinubu has declared a state of emergency on food security in the country. The president has also directed that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability be included within the purview of the National Security Council. President Tinubu also says his administration will deploy some savings from the petrol subsidy removal into revamping the agricultural sector. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports.
President Bola Tinubu says his administration is worried about the clear and present danger to food security in the country. The recent policy of fuel subsidy removal has taken a toll on food prices and now threatens food security. President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on food security seeks to reverse the inflationary cost of food items and ensure affordability.
The president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1, a state of emergency on food security. 2, that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The annual inflation rate in Nigeria rose for the 4th consecutive month to a near 18-year high of 22.41% in May this year. These new measures introduced by the Tinubu administration is meant to stop the hike in food prices and possibly force a downward trend.
We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items.
It seems this time the federal government may be out to find a lasting and sustainable solution to the farmer-herders conflict, which again is a serious threat to food security. President Tinubu's administration says it will adopt ranching as against cattle herding. The president seeks an increased and improved participation of relevant government institutions and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. But he insists the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to play the lead role in funding the value chain of the agricultural sector that already accounts for 35.21% of employment in Nigeria. This latest government initiative is expected to draw the country closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 2, which focuses on ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
I have joining me now a public affairs analyst, Dr. John Ekundaya, for more on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. State of emergency on food security. Help us understand the implication of this directive.
Thank you for having me. Let me just say that for a state of emergency to be declared, it means there is disaster or a looming one about to happen. And then the government is trying to come and say, okay, we want to actually intervene here to mitigate the suffering, to mitigate the hardship or loss or whatever. And for me, I would say it's an auspicious time, especially at the outset of this present administration, to just declare this emergency on food security, because prior to this time, as administration, and especially I would say the state government that has the ownership of lands have been lackadaisical in my own way, have been laid back when it comes to agribusiness. It has most times been of mounted slogan or moniker, or mantra that I just said. And at the end of the day, for me as a development analyst, when you look at the outcome after 1 year, 2 years of a state governor being there, you see, and part of the KPIs, the key performance indicator, is you go to the market after 2 years. Is the price of maize? Is the price of yam? Is the price of tomato? Like tomato now in the last 3 months, the price has skyrocketed to 100%. So as these prices gone down, or are these prices the same, then these are the outcome we can see. Not that we just talk and some of us will launch programs and it will be with fanfare, spend a lot of money, but 6 months down the line, among the states, 6 months, 9 months down the line, we are tangible, which we can say, oh, prices of food are going down, but there are more supplies coming to the market. We cannot see this. So I would say it's an auspicious time for Mr. President doing this. But then it shouldn't just be a mounted mantra. It should be followed up with actions.
All right, followed up with action. And as it is, remember that petrol subsidy is gone already. Now, the government is saying that it will deploy some savings from the subsidy removal to actually revamp the agricultural sector. Would you say this is the way to go? Because many have been asking questions as to what the funds saved from subsidy removal would be expended on.
Actually, I believe this is just one of the ways in which the effect of the fuel subsidy removal could be mitigated. If you can recollect, the special advisor on communication strategy and special duties to the president, Mr. Dele Alake, was saying this government is not just about bringing palliatives, but actually about interventions, and I mark his word. And I believe this is one of those interventions, especially if the government could adhere to 5 steps that are very key in state of emergency declaration. Number 1 is prevention. The government has to have some measures in place to prevent things escalating further. Another thing is to mitigate, to reduce the seriousness of what is presently in the market right now. And good that the president is saying, oh, fertilizers, more will be released, more farm inputs will be released. As this will be done, I want the president to set up a team, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. I say it again, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning team to track all these things, to see that all these things are not being diverted as we have in time past, and then government will have said we have spent so billion, 100 billion in agri intervention. And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, 6 months, 1 year, we are not seeing the outcome. We may be seeing activities, we may be seeing inputs. Oh, silo is maybe, this one is made on. But if 6 months, if 1 year, the prices of items, because it's still coming, we want to actually reach the poor of the poor, in the language of Mr. Dele Alake. So if these things are not properly tracked in applying proper monitoring, evaluation, accountability tool, it will still be like money down the drain. I'm talking about even these steps. There's a need also for the government to show preparedness. I heard Mr. Dele Alake say it's no more going to be seasonal farming anymore. Very good. So that we begin to have irrigation system coming in so that we farm all the year round. And with that also, there will be more and more responses, and then there can be recovery. If these 5 steps are followed and properly tracked, we were able to get outcome at the end of the day. And then for the state government, the federal government said we partner with them.
All right, Dr. Ekundaya.
For every state government.
I know you're really passionate about this, and I can feel it in the way you're expressing it. So you're of the view that this promise has to be matched with action, and there has to be a clear way of evaluating performance over time. Public affairs analyst and development analyst, Dr. John Ekundaya, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 1.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Staying with the courts, the Presidential Election Petitions Court has reserved judgment in the petition filed by the Allied People's Movement. At the resumed sitting, counsel to the petitioner and the respondent adopted their final written addresses. The Independent National Electoral Commission, alongside the APC and the President, asked the court to dismiss the petition for lacking merit. They argued that the issues canvassed by the petitioner had been settled by a judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. The APM's ground for the petition is that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, was not qualified to contest, having allegedly engaged in double nomination. Chairman of the panel, Justice Haruna Samani, announced that judgment was reserved and the date will be communicated to parties. He added that the court plans to deliver judgment in the petition by the 8 p.m. the same day with that of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Away from the courts now, President Bola Tinubu has declared a state of emergency on food security. And thanks for joining us on TVC News at 1. We begin with the latest on the fraud charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against former Governor of Imo State, ROCHAS OKOROCHA. An FCT High Court has dismissed the EFCC'S criminal charge of fraud against Senator OKOROCHA, which they allege he committed during his tenure as Governor of Imo State. This will be the third ruling delivered by a court of competent jurisdiction on charges of fraud filed by the EFCC against Senator OKOROCHA. The Federal High Court Abuja had on the 6th of February discharged Senator OKOROCHA of 2.9 billion naira fraud charges preferred against him by the EFCC. Justice Inyang in a ruling struck out the charges for contravening Section 105, subsection 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which gives the Attorney General of the Federation power to recall a case.
Nigeria is a nation. We must do everything to protect its integrity. I believe that nothing should discourage the EFCC from doing their work. They should do their work. They're doing quite well, but they should try to make sure everything is within the ambit of the law. That's just what we're saying. But I just thank God Almighty that finally, the third time actually, that same court is saying the same thing over and over and over again. So this is not about who has won or who has lost. It's about this nation. Fighting against corruption is something that must be done. Now we must continue to do that. Support the EFCC to do that. But let it be within the ambit